Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is an M60. It's a Tier 10 American Premium Medium located on the northeast border of Arctic region. It's under the command of Jamie2006. Okay, this is the deep modernization of the M48 pattern. It was a comprehensive job because they actually fitted a 105mm gun capable of doing 390 alpha and firing standard APCR with a pen of 268mm. For the heat rounds, you can take that up to 350mm. It does have some weak spots. That big cupola is a huge weak spot, but this thing is actually very, very good. In fact, they built 15,000 M60s of all types. He nicely knocked that tree down to help his teammates. And he's trying to get into a position so he can't get hit, but he does get hit, I'm afraid, by a CS63 to the south. Okay, he's spotting up front to give his teammates some help. And he's also going to try and take a shot at the 2684. He's going to need to go for the viewports if he's going to get through it. Now, the reason this came about was because back in the 50s, the British actually got to have a look at the T-54 with the 105mm at the time, or with a 115mm rather, and they realised that, well actually it's a 100mm, wrong, and they realised they were going to have difficulty trying to pin it with a 20-pounder gun, and that began the process which actually ended up with the development of the L7 105mm. And of course the Americans realised that they had to do the same. They had to upgrade their patterns, otherwise they weren't going to get through the armour of the Russian tanks with a 90mm gun. And so they decided to put a 105mm in, but to do that they needed to change the tank around quite a bit and take that huge gun. And what they came up with was basically a complete upgrade of the pattern. And it's got a cast hull, a cast turret, and that big 105mm gun. Well, the Cobra is now firing HE at us because he can't get through. In fact, he did get an HE round into us before, and I have to wonder if that was a Hesh round. Of course, the Cobra is the British tank with the oscillating turret. He's taken a fair bit of damage, but we're down to 2/3 of our health now. This is the last American tank, the main battle tank, to use a homogeneous steel armour. Because of course from there on in they went to the composite armour instead. It's also the last tank that was ever built by the Americans which actually had an escape hatch for the driver underneath the tank. I think that's mainly because from there on in, they were expecting IEDs to hit tanks or mines, and it doesn't really help to have an escape hatch underneath. Oh, look at that, it's a good shot. He's actually got 9 degrees of under pressure, so he can use that against the T-54. And when he punched that round in, he did get a very nice penetration for 442, which is a high roll. But he doesn't want the T-54 to get an easy shot on the hull, and look at that, it bounced another round off the turret. The guy is going for the cupola. It is a round that's actually bounced off the cupola already, and that was a 90mm round from the M46 pattern. Okay, so he's tempting the enemy to have a go at him, and oh, now that's a bit of damage. He actually hit the viewport, but you see he goes straight through the sides of an M46. The armour is so much better on this thing. Oh, now he didn't expect that to be there when he came down the hill, and all of a sudden he's looking down the on the enemy tank that he didn't want to come across straight up. In fact, he couldn't pen it from that angle, but he did get one round in while he was looking down on it. Bounced around from the Cobra. Got the Cobra this time. That's better. Okay, the 2684 has been wiped out. He was taken out in the end by the Char Future 4, and now we've got a target. Yep, managed to get around into the E50M, but the E50M is a little more difficult to kill Okay, didn't get a pen there, but he's down to a one shot anyway. We should be able to get round in. And he's gone. And the kill shot actually went to our captain. That's a 50-ton. He punches around into the turret of the T-54. That's difficult enough as it is. And that guy's gone down with 4 tanks up on the enemy, and we're now pushing on the corner. Standard B takes a hit, and we get splashed by the M53, M55 for 105 hit points. Yeah, we're going to have to try and avoid that Arty, because he could end up taking a lot of our hit points if we're not careful. So he's decided to push and try and stay below the ability of that enemy to hit us with his howitzer. As long as we stay below the ridgeline, they can't do much about it. Now he's crossing over. Is he going to go down into the dip and come up behind it? Yes, he has. Okay, that was a good choice. That's what I would have done. Cross the road, outflank the enemy, come up behind them, and they have to either pull back, or if they don't pull back, they start getting hit from a different direction. Okay, and it's forcing the enemy now. Look at that. Standard B, we've got him inside. But we didn't actually do any damage, but we've got huge amounts of spotting damage now. And the Standard B is trying to pull back. He does take a hit this time round. And the Kunstpanzer, well, he's going to suffer. Got him by the ass. And he's out the game. Okay, we've got an M46 who's gone down the dip as well. And there's a shot into his engine bay, and he's out of the game. That's 3 kills now. In fact, actually, we're now nicely in a position, basically, behind the enemy to a certain extent. And their Arty is now in sight. Okay, we'll take him out of the game. And he's out the game like that. Just one shot, high roll, and he's gone. So that's 4 kills. There's only 3 enemies left. Been a very good game for Jamie. I think you've been enjoying this one. Now the A phase 1 is, well, it's not the last one alive, but it looks like he's going to be a fairly easy kill for Jamie, whereas the other one is right up the far end. That's a 60 TP. Okay, sides of the turret of the A phase 1. One more round needed. Standard reload 8.44. He's got 7.11. Takes him out with 1 round to the hull. He did take a round in the turret, though. I think it was in the turret. 475. He's down to a 1 shot for the enemy. So he might need to be a little more careful. The gun on this tank is really good. 1,478 meters per second. It's like rather like a sniper. And there goes the 60 TP. So this one is a victory. Oh, crumbs. Look at the holes. One through the mantlet, one through the cupola. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was an ace tanker game for Jamie2006 in the M60, the premium medium, top of the tree for the American line. He got you can tell it's the first ace tanker because it's got the scrolls underneath. I keep mentioning that to people, but that's how you distinguish that it is a first ace tanker, because you'll only see those scrolls once. He also got a Reaper badge for taking out consecutive enemies with consecutive shots. He also picked up a fire effect for doing more damage to the hit points to his own vehicle, a fighter badge for getting at least 4 kills. He ended up with 5, 1/3 of the enemy team, and 1 short of a top gun, a master, a sharpshooter there actually, for getting 10 consecutive shots on the enemy, a shell proof for blocking more damage than hit points to his own vehicle, a spotter badge for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, as well as a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him, a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 9, and a hand of God for surviving the battle and received damage from 4 different enemies. On top of which, he got some battle hero medals. He got the high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game, a steel wall, rather not shellproof, he's already got one of those, a steel wall for blocking the most damage in the game, and he got a patrol duty as well for being the only one spotting 6 enemy tanks whilst they were damaged. And he got that because he went forward right at the start of the game to a very good and advantageous position. He was able to spot the enemy and enabled his teammates to do the same from a very long way away. So going up onto that little hill where the aircraft is, it really did pay off in a big way. His win rate from that game, 9,325. It's super unicum and a bit more. Let's have a look at team score. Well, he managed to get the highest damage in the game in that one, 5,788 hit points of damage. The next highest scorer being the CS63, who managed to get 5,120. And after that, it was the Gorilla 15 on his own team, managed to get a Confederate and 4,500. When it came to kills, he had the highest number with 5. 3 kills went to the E50 on his own team, and also to the CS63 on the enemy team and their AE Phase 1. And when it came to base XP, yep, he's got that one as well. So he's got the top in all 3 columns. 1,512 went to Jamie, 1,034 went to the E50 on his team, and 935 went to the Kampfpanzer 50-ton, who also managed to get a Leather Slaves medal. So only 2 players on his team actually managed to get over 1,000, and he was one of them, and it was quite a big one at that. He fired 23 rounds in that game. You only have 57 rounds in total, so he didn't even spend half his ammo, but he managed to get a lot of effect for it. 21 direct hits on the enemy, 17 penetrations, 5,788 hit points of damage, of which 441 were up more than 300 meters. He received 15 hits from the enemy in that game, only 4 of which actually penetrated because the armor's pretty good, and 10 non-penetrations. Those are the a lot of the shots that actually were bouncing off the turret because they just couldn't get through the cupola. But he did take 1 round through the cupola and 1 round through the mantlet, if you saw that, but it was a heat round. And he got 2 hits by way of splash damage. That was the Cobra trying to fire HE at him to try and do some damage. 2,640 hit points of damage blocked by armor. 4 enemy vehicles spotted, 9 enemy vehicles damaged, 5 killed, 4,958 hit points of spotting assist. That's a big amount of spotting assist, and that helped him to get the ace tanker. 104,084 credits for the game, 50,000 for completing a mission, a total of 154,084 altogether. And after repair, ammunition, resupply, and consumables, and I think he did actually use some premium rounds during that one. Well, you have to sometimes. 53,523 credits profit. 7 bonds because it was a tier 10 game. 2,268 XP times 2 for the first victory. Same again for completing a mission, and 113 for this being a premium vehicle, even though it's one that you actually get with bonds. 15,000 bonds it is to get one of these. Expensive, but well, it's almost as worth of getting it as getting the 121B, I think, in the end. 6,917 experience points altogether. So let's have a quick look at the armor on this beast. It is quite a beast. You can see it's like egg-shaped hull, the cast hull, cast turret, even a cast cupola, I think it is as well. Let's have a quick look at the live version because it's actually easier to see. You can see that's why you have such a tough turret, because it's got 9 degrees of gun depression. So hopefully if you keep the cast hull below the sight of the enemy, then they're not going to find it easy to get through that turret because it's so thick indeed. Look, 254 millimeters of armor turning into 342. The cupola is 114 millimeters, but it turns to 124, 135, depending on where you actually hit it. And even the upper plate is 93.2 millimeters, but again, it's rounded, so, or slightly rounded, it's egg shaped. And so you can see that you're getting around 170 millimeters, almost double what you've initially got for the impacted. You can see the driver is actually in the center because that's where the viewports are. The sides of the vehicle are a little thinner, 63.5. This is, after all, a medium tank, so it's designed to go quickly. And it's actually, many people think it's got poor armor for a tier 10 tank, but not from the front. It hasn't. It's got good armor on the front. It's just slightly weaker on the sides. And you can see you can easily punch through the side there. 76.2 millimeters. It's coming up to about 80 to 95. And the cupola again, 76 coming up to 140. At the back, you can see that the engine is very thin, or the armor at the back, 25.4. And the back of the turret, 50.8, getting 53 or thereabouts. So if you can get behind an M60, you can cause a whole lot of trouble for them. But the good thing about this tank is it's so mobile, you can get behind the enemy. It's got 60 mile per hour, or 60 kilometers now, I should say, top speed. You can get behind the enemy, and as he did, actually went round the outside and then went up that slope, turning his turret to one side. So the enemy were only seeing the turret, really. So he was actually able to get shots into their side, but they weren't able to do and reciprocate and do the same to him. So you can see this sort of tank is built for maneuvering around the enemy and using its armor to good effect. Let's have a quick look at the modules. Okay, driver in the center up front, but he's got ammo racks all the way, well, not all the way around him, but he has got them around him. And in the turret, you can see it's the standard configuration with the gunner up front, the tank commander behind in that huge barnacle of a cupola, and you've got the loader on the right-hand side with the ready rack in the bustle, and the radios in the bustle also for the tank commander. At the back, we've got the engine sandwiched between two big fuel tanks, and the transmission is at the rear as well. So it's basically a standard configuration. You can see there is an ammo rack. If you can aim between the first set or the second set of rollers on the tank, you can actually hit the ammo rack in the center there. So aim if you can for that center bit. If not, go for the bustle if you can get that. But I think a lot of people would aim for the center mass of the tank underneath the turret. That should be enough to hit the ammo rack and set him off. So that's where all the modules are. Hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.